Here's your news for July 11th, 2020. And your headlines for today include SummerSlam plans for Matt Riddle leaked. Matches for WWE SummerSlam 2020 leaked. WWE announces a night full of grudge matches. Title match booked for WWE SmackDown next week. AJ Styles called Paul Heyman a bold-faced liar. WWE to use CGI effects in Eye for an Eye match. Sad news about a wrestler being murdered in revenge killing. Multiple WWE wrestlers injured. Impact Wrestling filed for Paycheck Protection Program loan. Chances of Fox canceling WWE SmackDown to cut costs. Braun Strowman issues a challenge, and more. We are kicking off with news from SmackDown as Matt Riddle has been doing big things since moving to SummerSlam a few weeks ago, and that may lead to a title match at SummerSlam. The Wrestling Observer newsletter is reporting that an Intercontinental title match between Riddle and the current champion AJ Styles has been in the plans, though the company could always go in a different direction. They said, AJ Styles vs. Matt Riddle was also already set up when Riddle beat Styles in a non-title match. It also could be Riddle vs. King Corbin, which has also been pushed on television, with the idea of a Riddle win to set up the Styles match at SummerSlam. With that in mind, it's worth mentioning that no plans for the biggest party of the summer have been set in stone, as Vince McMahon is currently focusing on the horror show at Extreme Rules. And it's also worth noting that Styles will defend the gold against Riddle on next week's SmackDown. Riddle himself has been the center of controversy lately after he admitted to having an affair, but denied any claims of wrongdoing made by Candy Cartwright, and time will tell whether the company will give him an IC title shot at the August pay-per-view. A potential IC title match for the King of Bros isn't the only big match rumored for SummerSlam, as the Observer newsletter also has other matches that could be happening at the show. The New Day defending their SmackDown tag titles against Shinsuke Nakamura and Cesaro has been rumored, as have the Raw Tag Team Champions the Street Profits vs. Andrade and Angel Garza. It's worth mentioning that WWE has already put the wheels in motion for the Raw Tag Team title match, but with Dawkins and Ford being off TV for a number of weeks, it looks like this title match may be on hold until SummerSlam. It's expected that Universal Champion Braun Strowman and The Fiend Bray Wyatt will face off at the Performance Center in August, especially as their Wyatt Swamp Fight match at Extreme Rules is a non-title encounter. But given the current circumstances, any plans between now and the biggest party of the summer could easily be changed. Over to Raw now, as this coming Monday will have a packed 3 hours for the go-home show before the horror show at Extreme Rules. The company is billing this match as a night of grudge matches, as the WWE Women's Tag Team Champions Sasha Banks and Bayley will defend their titles against the Kabuki Warriors. A WrestleMania rematch between Seth Rollins and Kevin Owens will also be happening, whilst Randy Orton will face R-Truth, though it wasn't noted if this will be a 24/7 championship match. The Viking Raiders will take on Andrade and Angel Garza in tag team elimination action, and fans can expect plenty more matches and segments on this coming Monday's show. Speaking of the phenomenal one, Styles moved from Raw to SmackDown in May this year, and there was plenty of speculation and rumors why that happened. Though the most common reason was that SmackDown, which is short of names like Roman Reigns and Sami Zayn, was needing star power, it was also reported that Styles was tired of getting harassed for some of his beliefs, such as the Flat Earth theory, and that he refused to work with then-director Paul Heyman. Styles was quick to shut this rumor down on his final Mixer stream, as he said that the idea of him being bullied was the dumbest thing he'd heard, adding, "If there was some bullying going on that upset me enough to leave Raw and go to SmackDown, I would handle it. And whether I got my tail beat or not, I'd still handle it." Styles also claims that his departure was due to Heyman not sticking up for Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson before the release, saying, "I'll give you a snippet of what me, Gallows, and Anderson already know. He's a liar. Now you know. I'm sure you've heard that before if you go back to the ECW days. I'm sure you'll hear that. He's a bold-faced liar." Now that Heyman is gone as Raw's executive director, it seems more likely that Styles will return, though our Intercontinental Champion seems more than happy on SmackDown as the Intercontinental Champion. More news from SmackDown now, as the company will keep going with the current angle involving Jeff Hardy's substance abuse issues and Sheamus. During the latest edition of the Dirt Sheet, Miz and John Morrison said that Sheamus wants Hardy to compete against him in a bar fight, whilst Hardy said that the match will actually be a handicap match, pitting himself against Sheamus and alcohol. The charismatic Enigma accepted the match, and though it's unclear when this bar fight will happen, it's likely to be at Extreme Rules, which is the next big event on WWE's schedule. This new match wasn't the only change for Hardy this week, as during his match with The Miz, he hit his finishing move, which is once again being called the Twist of Fury. Of course, the original move is the Twist of Fate and had its name changed many months back, leading some to speculate that Matt Hardy owns the name. After Matt confirmed he had nothing to do with WWE's name change, the move went back to being a Twist of Fate. But in an interesting and ironic twist of fate, it's now being called the Twist of Fury once more, and we'll have to see if the name sticks this time. We are looking at the horror show at Extreme Rules now, as at the event, Rey Mysterio and Seth Rollins will face in a match where the only way to win is by extracting the eye of your opponent. And now, details have emerged on how this stunt will be pulled off. The Wrestling Observer is reporting that the match will be taped in advance, and that the company will use some form of CGI effects to simulate an eye being pulled out as the finish. It's interesting that Mysterio is doing the angle, given that he's currently working without a contract, and the Observer noted that the two parties have yet to come to an agreement. Mysterio reportedly asked for a raise as part of a new deal, which was declined by McMahon, and this eye for an eye stipulation could be how the company writes the former world champion off TV. Hopefully we'll get more answers about what the future holds for Rey after next Sunday's pay-per-view, as one person will be leaving the horror show a very changed man. Over to Raw, and this week's show saw Heath Slater return to face his 3MB bandmate Drew McIntyre, but according to the WWE Champion, this wasn't what Slater originally wanted. While speaking to TalkSport, McIntyre explained Slater's hesitation, saying, "Heath was a little bit against it. He appreciated the opportunity with WWE, it was where he had made his name, but mentally he has moved on." McIntyre also compared Slater's release to his own in 2014, saying that he didn't want anything to do with WWE post-departure either, but given the incredible shape the one-man band has got himself in, and the rumors of him joining Impact, it may not be too long until fans see him again. We are focusing on the Lucha community next, as another wrestler has sadly died, but not due to the ongoing global situation. Anubis Black, whose real name was Francisco Lizarga, was murdered last month, and it's now being reported that it was a revenge hit for alleged previous murders he'd committed. In March, Lizarga was suspected of killing a man and woman at a Wings Burger restaurant in Mexico City, and whilst witnesses identified the shooter as Lizarga, police didn't find him. Lizarga and his girlfriend were out at the same part of Mexico City on June 20th when he was shot at least 8 times, and it's a real tragedy that such senseless violence has led to 3 deaths in this situation. Now in October 2008, WWE hosted their first all-female event, Evolution, and since then, fans have been clamoring for a second. Pro Wrestling Unlimited is now reporting that the all-female event could have its sequel happen on August 30th, which would match rumors of a special event being planned for the weekend after SummerSlam, and they're also reporting that former Impact World Champion Tessa Blanchard could make her WWE debut at the show. Following her Impact firing and title being vacated, WWE reportedly sent out feelers to test if Blanchard was interested in joining WWE, as she last competed for Vince McMahon's company in the inaugural Mae Young Classic in 2017. Though Evolution 2 could be a big deal for WWE, it's also being reported that the company could split SummerSlam into a 2-week event, similar to NXT's Great American Bash. And like every plan in wrestling at the moment, nothing can be set in stone, given the current situation. Speaking of the Bash, the second night of the show was a monumental event that saw Keith Lee make history, but it also led to some pretty nasty injuries. It's being reported that now former NXT champion Adam Cole suffered a neck contusion in the match, whilst Candice LeRae and Mia Yim suffered body contusions during their street fight. Yim looked the worse for wear after the match though, as she's also dealing with blurred vision, while an angry Killian Dane and the treads of Shotzi Blackheart's tank left Robert Stone with ruptured leg ligaments, and he'll be fitted for a walking boot. It just goes to show that injuries can happen to anyone in wrestling, even managers, though we're not sure we've ever heard of a manager getting hurt by a tank at ringside before. One person who has plenty of experience on the Gold brand is Lio Rush, who was released in April, and now it looks like his wrestling career may be over for good. On Instagram, the Man of the Hour posted a video with the caption claiming that Rush is preparing for his final match, and will announce more about this on July 20th. In a separate post, the former NXT Cruiserweight Champion asked fans who they think he should wrestle in his last match, as it looks like the High Flyer is prepping for the end of his career. This shouldn't come as too big a surprise, as following his release, Rush teased that he might not ever wrestle again, and he's also spoke about wanting to focus on family and music more. And at just 25 years old, the former superstar has his whole life ahead of him to pursue something else. Over to Impact now, as the company has had to apply for a loan in order to keep paying staff. According to the Wrestling Observer, Anthem applied for a PPP loan between $150,000 and $350,000 with the intention to save 106 jobs. The Paycheck Protection Program provides small business loans so that companies can keep working, and Impact's successful application was made on April 4th. With Slammiversary happening this time next week, it'll be interesting to see what the company does, as nobody wants to lose their job in the current global climate. Back to WWE now, and after Sportico reported that Fox is dropping its golf broadcasts, some have been concerned that SmackDown will be next. It's now being reported that the Blue brand isn't at too much risk, as golf was nixed to pay for NFL's higher rights fees, and while SmackDown hasn't performed to expectations, it's still helped bring Fox's average viewer age down. Also, Fox is paying $205 million a year for SmackDown, which is less than it'd cost to produce a 2-hour-long drama, and given that the Blue brand never has an off-season, it looks like SmackDown isn't going anywhere. One person who hasn't been on SmackDown in a while is Sami Zayn, but his new mobile clinic is officially on the ground in Syria. Zayn's Sammy for Syria campaign was created years ago, and on Christmas Day last year, the former Intercontinental Champion announced that their financial goal to provide a mobile medical care center in the area had been reached. The crisis in Syria is considered to be one of the worst of our times, with Syrians facing the constant threats of harm and death, and it's great to see Sammy doing something to help out. Over to Raw, and though Ricochet hasn't been used lately, the former US champion knows what he wants down the line. After Edge said that he wants to face Ricochet one day, the one and only took to Twitter to say he's ready for Edge when he's finished with Orton, as this arguable dream match could certainly be a big deal if it happens. Now at NXT's Great American Bash, Keith Lee became the latest superstar to hold 2 titles simultaneously, and it looks like Braun Strowman liked what he saw. After WWE Champion Drew McIntyre showed off his new Twitter timeline cover, which features himself delivering a vicious claymore to Strowman, the Universal Champion said that McIntyre still has one coming, before laying out a title-for-title match on the grandest stage of them all. McIntyre's response of the eyes emoji certainly hints that the WWE Champion is interested in the possible match, though if the match did happen at the grandest stage of all, that'd mean waiting for WrestleMania 37. It's likely that at least one or both men will lose the titles between now and then, but if not, then fans could already be looking at the main event of next year's show. And finally, today we're ending with news from outside WWE, as Gallows and Anderson's Talkin' Shop-A-Mania was filmed this week with some big names. According to Wrestling Inc., Enzo Amore, Heath Slater, The Rock and Roll Express, Chavo Guerrero, Mike and Maria Kanellis, and Kurt Hawkins were just some big names at the show. And with big matches and outrageous skits being promised, the Good Brothers special event will be an interesting watch when it airs on Fight on August 1st.